Thank you so much for that.
Oh man, it was my honor coming, man. Coming to Greater Grace is like a dream for every real preacher.
Got it. Got it.
No, for real, man. Thank y'all.
It should be coming up any second.
Okay.
I'll let you know. Yeah, we got that Teddy Riley going on. That was hilarious.
I didn't see it.
All right, so yep, we live. Okay. All right, we live. Let me get my Zoom up there. All right. Welcome to E-Thought Conversations. E-Thought Conversations. I want to appreciate everybody for joining in. I'm Eric, your host. So what I do E-Thoughts on social media. And those are moments of feel good, of inspiration, thoughts of kindness and reflections, things of that nature. So I thought I'd have a conversation with some interesting people so we can bring some infotainment, which is information and entertainment. And I want to, you like that? Infotainment. Thank you, Sierra. Infotainment. And I have three brilliant minds, In the first one, I'll introduce them. And again, you can do a watch party or share this. We encourage you to do a watch party or share this because it's going to be very,
right? I got
share it. Go in there, give you a moment to share it. You see it, Ellis? Did it come up?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
And I might be looking in the right place. That's
go to Eric Williams and start a watch party, and you can share it. Please share it.
I just shared it. I don't know how to do a watch party.
All right, either or, it doesn't matter. Same thing.
All right.
So I'm gonna get started. While y'all figuring that out. That's all right, because we're just comfortable. It's just us. We're in the living room having a conversation. My first, I'm gonna say contestant, like we're on a game show. My first panelist, because I do a game show on the social media too.
You do, and that's really dope too, by the way. Let me say that. That's really dope.
Thank you, man. It has gone over very well. I want to take people's mind off, and this is again a way to take people's mind off everything that's going on. So our conversation today is faith, finance, and frame of mind in a crisis. Faith, finance, and frame of mind in a crisis. Representing our faith is my friend, Pastor Welton Smith. He's the pastor and founder of New Life Church in Detroit and PW Productions, where he does a fabulous live on Saturdays at 5 with thousands of listeners and viewers. And then even beyond that, he's one of our creative minds. See, people call him already. He's so busy.
I just can't stop it.
He's a creative thinker. Most of all, he's my friend, my brother, and we do life together. Thank you, Pastor Welton Smith. Say hi to the people.
Thank you for letting me be with you tonight, man. You my big brother. It's my honor.
Listen, we do life together. You my little big brother.
For real.
We have Ellis Liddell. He's the president of EL Wealth Management. He's been in financial services since 1980. He's been on numerous platforms on TV, radio with Mildred Gaddis, Channel 7, everywhere, national and local. And he's an expert on investments. And his motto is, wealth is our legacy. Finish it for me?
Pass it on.
Pass it on. Wealth is our legacy. Pass it on. And then coming up last but not least, our female, Sierra Renee. She has an MA. She has a TLLP. She's the owner and therapist and life coach of Elevated Counseling and Coaching. She endeavors to minimize the stigma associated with mental health in the Christian African American community by inspiring, motivating, and breaking toxic cycles and encouraging people to live in their God-given potential. How is that, Sierra?
That sounds good when you say it. It's like pressure. Like I'm doing all that.
You doing all of that. You doing all that. Let's get started. We're gonna have a conversation. So I'm coming to you first, Pastor Welton. My first question for you is
why me,
because you're a preacher. You have plenty of words. I'm sure.
No, come on, man. Let's go.
Start there. What's your type of your sermon today?
Let's go. Today I taught the miracle in the moment.
The miracle in the moment. I'm not gonna get you started there because I know
you
got 3 points and a 3-minute close.
Yeah, it was good.
But first conversation is about faith. You representing faith here. Faith, finance, frame of mind. I want to know about faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please God. Now, 3 trends of thoughts. First, some people say, I have faith because I didn't get the coronavirus. Some people say, I have faith because I've been recovered or been healed from coronavirus. And then there's another trend of thought that says, I have faith or I transitioned into faith as a result of the coronavirus. Who has faith? Which one is faith, or is all 3 faith?
I think the uniqueness of this moment is embracing the reality that nobody's really right or wrong.
Mhm.
We're in a moment where everyone's an amateur, everyone's a rookie, no matter how big you are, no matter how great you are, no one can mentor you through this. So I think a lot of times we many times try to look for the confirmation of what we're going through in somebody else understanding, when the truth is everybody's right. Everybody's faith is in a different condition. And what we go through in life won't affect all of us the same. The truth of the matter is there are a lot of people that have been affected and infected with the virus, and God dealt with them while they were on their sick bed. That now that's done something that's undeniable for their faith. There's somebody who by faith declared, I decreed that that sickness shall not enter my body. And their life has lined up with their declaration. They're not wrong about the answer. I think the beauty of this moment is that God is meeting all of us exactly where we are. And what he's done is he's closed the church to open her up again. What he's done now is he shut the church doors so that behind closed doors, he can open the church up. So now everyone is experiencing God on a different level, and whatever level you're experiencing God on, don't let anybody deter you or discourage you for how real this has transformed, or in how many ways this has really transformed your faith. I got a member in my church, a minister, who his wife, he called me and said, Pastor, I'm sitting here and I've been praying, I've been recovering. My faith was down. I didn't know how to get through it. I felt like God left me out there. My business has been affected. My health has been affected. As a man, I feel like I can't go out and support and cover my family. And what he said was, but what happened was while I was sick, I didn't understand it, but my wife was praying for me. And my wife was praying in a way I'd never heard her pray. My sickness forced her to pray in a way that she's never prayed before. And in that moment, I said to him, I said, isn't that amazing how God will trust us with a sickness just so he can prove himself to somebody else as an answer?
Okay.
That this has taken us all through a lot of different ways, but it's very real for us all.
Okay, that's a very good answer. So even though if some people have maybe transitioned as a result of C-19, that's no dispersion on their faith?
No, I think that many times we think faith, we don't know the difference between having faith in God and having faith in an answer.
Okay.
We many times place faith in an outcome, and what faith does is it doesn't always make us exempt from outcomes, but it gives us a different perspective in outcomes. Okay. So a lot of times people feel like, oh no, my faith worked if I didn't get it. Well, no, what if faith worked if you got it and recovered from it? Yeah. And you heal. You know, it affects us a lot of different ways.
All right. Well, that's good. Thank you for that, sir. I know you can go because, you know, preacher only needs 3 more minutes.
Man, it's 2 other people on the line. So no, I ain't about to take the line.
Yeah, so I'm going with Ellis. Ellis, you up next. Of course, you're a financial advisor, financial planner. You're my financial planner. So let me publicly appreciate you as I do privately, because I want to give a public affirmation there, is that when my job let me go, I took my 401k and I transferred it over to you, EL Wealth Management. And of course, you have to fight through the stereotypes that Black men can't manage money and they don't have integrity. And you have bypassed all that. You've been integral, you've been professional, you've been upfront. But where I want to thank you is on a personal level, you sent out a robocall and said, this is Ellis Liddell, and I'm removing you from the market maybe over a month ago. And that proved to be a godsend for me, saved me thousands of dollars. I thank God for that. Tell me, I got my stimulus money. I'm getting ready to get some unemployment money. What should I be doing next? Should I go to Walmart, buy that TV? What's next?
All right. So first, I want to thank you for the wonderful introduction. I thank you so much for finding trust in me. And I'll say this here publicly. I've had thousands of people here in the Detroit area and around the country who've also allowed me to manage their money. And that has pushed me to being one of the top advisors in the country. D Magazine named me as one of the top advisors. And I want to add one more E to that EL. It's ELE Wealth Management.
Okay, ELE. That's right.
See,
ELE.
that tells me I don't have enough of your money. You only got part of the name right.
I ain't got enough
There
of
you
your money.
go.
Finish that
He got
ELE.
some more. He got some
That's
more.
right.
got
We'll
some
add
more
one more
coming.
E to that
Respect on his
ELE.
name. Put
Thank
some
you.
respect on his name, man.
Put some respect on it.
Yeah. So Eric, I just want to say this here, and Pastor, thank you for the opening. That was wonderful, because a lot of people are struggling with their faith at this time when they find that loved ones and they find that pastors and bishops are dying from this. They're wondering, what was their connection to God? And listen, God is in control of all of this. And that's kind of one of the fundamental beliefs, is that you're not in control of very much. God is in control of a lot. Eric, you talked about me taking you out the market, and that was me listening to God.
Yes.
We all have the option of listening and not listening. It's like a radio station. There are lots of stations out there airing right now, but you got to be tuned into the right station to get the right message.
Wow.
You're tuned into the wrong radio show, you're gonna get a message, but it's gonna be the wrong message.
So money could be a ministry.
That's it. So as it relates to money and finance, my biggest concern when I heard the announcement of the coronavirus, COVID-19, my biggest concern that after this thing came through our community and left, would there still be an economic pandemic in our communities? That was my biggest concern, was there gonna be devastation in our communities? So the first thing I did was I touched all the mediums that I had contacts to, and it was like, let's talk about this economic pandemic that's gonna happen if people don't apply for the unemployment, if they don't apply for this financial package. So my goal was to make sure that the public knew as many people as I could touch about this economic pandemic that we was facing, and that everybody applied. There's a thing called PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. It's available for anyone not able to work. But most people have disqualified themselves from applying. They're saying to themselves, I don't qualify. Okay, if you can't leave your house, you qualify. If the governor has told you not to go and do plumbing, not to go and cut hair, not to do any of these things that you were accustomed to doing to make extra money, apply for this pandemic unemployment assistance. A pastor, for example, teletherapist, for example, if teletherapy, the rules didn't allow you to do a lot of teletherapy. They changed the rules to make that possible.
Right.
So all these things that have changed to cause you to be able to do work, that's different. If you're working from home, you don't qualify. But if you can't go to somebody's house and fix them because they're telling you to stay home, shelter in place, you qualify. We'll get more into it, but thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Yeah. Again, so I qualify for that. Tell me again, what should I be doing with my stimulus money? Should I be paying off my credit card? Should I go to Walmart, buy that TV? Should I calling people and negotiating with my mortgage? What do you think?
All right, so let me just say this here. The stimulus money was given to you for relief. Now, do we know that this thing's going to, listen, next week, our governor here in Michigan is going to announce her plan for to get back to normal. But that might, listen, she can announce the plan if she wants to, but if we have 2,000 deaths in July, what's going to happen? We're going to go back in place. Will Congress give us another stimulus? We don't know if they're going to do another stimulus. We don't even know if they're going to do the one that they're working. CARES Act 2 is in Congress right now. We don't know that it's going to get out of there. And so from that standpoint, hold on to this money like this might be your food money. You should have already called your mortgage company, your landlord. You should have had a conversation with them already, especially if you're self-employed, to let them know that things are a little tight. Can you work with me? So your credit card companies, everybody should have already gotten those phone calls. Now, do you need another TV right now? If you need another TV, that's another story. But if you don't need a TV right now, I'm not sure you ought to be buying a TV, but that was a good example.
So, cash is king. Hold on to your cash.
Cash is king.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Sierra Renee, our owner and therapist of Life Coach Elevated Counseling. One of your themes is Jesus and therapy. Jesus and therapy. I often say people
both.
love.
Come on.
You gonna answer her question? Help her out. I say people love the person of Jesus, but they don't like the principles of Jesus.
Yeah.
Do I need therapy? Is it okay to have Jesus and therapy?
Absolutely. it is okay to have Jesus in therapy. You know, that's kind of, there can be some controversy around that topic, right? Because a lot of people may kind of position people going to see a therapist with having a lack of faith, because I can hear them quoting that scripture, and maybe Pastor Wilson, you can help me because I don't quote them like that. I just kind of know them. But 2 Timothy 3:16-17, where I paraphrase, it talks about how, you know, all scripture is God breathed. And then it says that's all the only thing that you need. And to that, I do say yes and amen. But then there's a lot in Proverbs as well that tells us about seeking wise counsel. So I don't see it as a competition. Theology and psychology, I don't see it as a competition. I see it as a tool that is very complementary to the Word of God as well. You know, I tell people all the time, there's nothing new under the sun. I think that some of the findings that psychology has is just a careful kind of renaming of biblical principles that we already had. So going to seek wise counsel, having that community, having somebody who you can count on to rely to give you an unbiased opinion that's going to hold you accountable, tell you some of those hard truths and be supportive. Those are biblical principles that they kind of put a nice little name on it for our pop culture, right? So they don't compete at all. So I think that it is very complimentary to have Jesus and a therapist.
So you jumped on that, Pastor Welton. You're the advocate for that, Jesus and therapy?
No, absolutely. I believe that the truth of the matter is, especially this moment has pushed us to the place where we've got to be real about some stuff that we've been able to hide for a long time. Mm-hmm. That there's some stuff that happens and has happened in our lives that we can't just dance around it. Some stuff we just got to sit down, and you won't be delivered until you deal with it. The truth is, in church, whether we want to admit it or not, there's a lot that has happened that we've kind of, as a culture, learned to sweep things under the rug. Things that happen to us in church settings, but then even things that happen to us privately. And so that's why I think what she does is so important, because a lot of people think that if you have a therapist, you don't believe in Jesus. The truth of the matter is, I agree. I support it 1,000%. You need both. You need both.
It definitely makes your job easier. Go ahead, Sierra.
The thing is, you know, psychology really just aims to bring an awareness and an understanding of what could possibly be causing some of those unwanted feelings or behaviors. So why wouldn't we want to gather understanding? No, just like Pastor Welton was saying, like we got to figure out what's going on. We in these quiet places by ourselves. We sitting alone, and we just alone. Like, I need to figure out how I don't like you.
That's where the enemy gets us. It's like Elijah. When God met Elijah and said, "What are you doing in this cave?" He's driven and hidden in this isolated, dark place where this spirit of depression has now overwhelmed Elijah. And that's why I believe that spirit of suicide has crept so into the church, where so many people in the church all of a sudden feel suicidal. The truth of the matter is, I grew up in the house, Eric, with my daddy, who's a pastor. Been a pastor my whole life. I've grown up around pastors, and maybe this is not the truth for many of us, but for me, I've grown up around pastors, and it seems like suicide has been the answer here lately. It's like I saw pastors back in the day, but it seems like here recently, the spirit of suicide is just plaguing the pulpit. And I believe it's because of that moment, just like Elijah, where God says, "What are you doing here in this dark place? Why are you in here acting like you crazy?" And he said, "All of this work I've done for you, I'm the only one that's out here going through this. I'm the only prophet that you got left." And that moment of isolation drove Elijah to a place that made him open for manipulation, where God checked Elijah and said, "Wait a minute, don't give yourself that much credit. Don't ever think you're the only nothing that I have." He said, "I got thousands of prophets out here that's going through the exact same thing you're going through. There are pastors who have been terrified of this very moment, that we're preaching to empty rooms. We're preaching to empty sanctuaries. And the enemy is playing with a lot of ministry minds of people who are operating in ministry, because they're looking at the pews and remembering how they looked years ago. And because the enemy makes us feel ashamed, like we're the only ones going through this, We the only ones who are trying to get through the week. And that's what makes us ashamed. And that's how the spirit of manipulation comes, because the enemy makes us feel isolated, that nobody else is going through this. And we don't know that we have a Sierra Renee that can talk us through life's dark spots when we can't get through on our own. And that's why I admire what she does.
Excellent.
I really
Ellis waiting
appreciate
to
that.
jump in there. I can tell you like double Dutch. Go ahead, Ellis.
Yeah. Sierra, you want to connect your point, and then I'll jump in.
I just really appreciate that, because I feel like from the pulpit down, that's where that stigma is actually created. So when I hear a pastor having an appreciation for the integration of theology and psychology, it just really makes me feel so good, because I think that's where that's come from. A lot of like pastors have not acknowledged that it's okay to have therapy and have Jesus. It doesn't have any kind of impact on your amount of faith that you have. It doesn't make you a bad Christian to seek counsel. So I just really want to say I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Oh man.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, let me just say this here. Kudos to everybody. Y'all was on it, and you're right. So I wrote a book almost 15 years ago now called Merging Faith with Finance. It was the first book of its type, right? And I remember writing a story in that book about it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than it is for a man to enter heaven. Well, people, listen, what they didn't understand is you got to go back to the time that was written. The eye of the needle was a huge thing that you went through, and the camel just had to bend. So as Christians, if we fail to bend, we can't get through. But listen, people started saying the eye of the needle was a needle and thread, that little bitty eye, it's gonna be so hard. They started misinterpreting what it meant. So a little understanding goes a long ways. Me personally, I wouldn't want a financial advisor that don't believe.
So Ellis, go ahead. I'm sorry. Does that speak to our lack
he has to have his ear. He has to have his ear out there to listen, because what happens in the stock market, just like me, a lot of people are just trying to stay healthy, and they're health practitioners to help them with that. But there are people who need to counsel, like Sierra. But there are people who have to be on top of the finances. I can't wait for us to have an economic pandemic for me to speak up. I have to speak up in anticipation of an economic pandemic. And if I don't speak up, there's somebody out there who they just won't hear what I hear when God speaks. They don't hear that. But my job is to be a voice for those who can hear, to be eyes for those who can't see. That's my goal.
What's the name of the book again? Somebody said, what's the name of the book?
It's Wealth Management, Merging Faith with Finance. Wealth Management, Merging Faith with Finance.
Okay, and you can give your information at the end for sure. So, and a lot of that, Pastor Welton and Sierra, suicide is from lack of preparation. Because in the church, again, we're more stressed about health and wealth. You can have a healing line any day of the week, and you can have I need money any day of the week. And so for this pandemic, a lot of us just weren't prepared. Speak to that, Ellis.
Well, okay, so if you don't have, like you were talking about, what should I do with my $1,200 stimulus or $500 for every child in the household? Well, if you don't have 3 to 4 months worth of money saved up, then you're at risk of losing everything. So when you get this extra, you've got to put it away. There are certain people out there, Eric, who are going to get the unemployment, the pandemic unemployment assistance. They're going to get $2,400 a month plus whatever the state pays. They're going to come, if it's Michigan, they're going to come in at $38.48. Well, they wasn't making but $2,500 a month before the pandemic thing came. So now you should be saving some of that money for the next pandemic. It might not be the coronavirus. It just might be you get laid off in your job. So you just got to make sure that you don't be wise with this money. Don't just blow it.
Somebody asked, will they get a 1099 for the 1,200?
They will not get a 1099 for the 1,200 or the 500, nor will they get one for this $3,800. This is all pandemic money. This is money that will just go away. You will not get a 1099. You don't have to pay it back. There are no taxes on this money. This is just money out there to help assist you to get through this pandemic.
Excellent. So Sierra, my sleep pattern is off. My sleep pattern is off. I'm going to bed at the same time, but I'm popping up 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And, I know people are struggling with social distancing. And I heard the term now, even grief distancing, because we can't grieve as we want to grieve. We have to grieve from a distance. Help us with some coping mechanisms in this crisis.
Yeah, that is a tough time right now, because I think everybody's just everything has been completely interrupted, right? My sleep pattern is off as well. I think it's important to try to create a new normal for you and have some level of acceptance in that, right? So like Pastor Wilson said, this is a unique situation that nobody was really prepared for. So I think it's okay. You have to recognize it's okay to not be okay. It's okay that your sleep is off. It's okay that your house is still a mess when you see everybody on social media that been spring cleaned and did everything, and you like, I was just eating and binge watching. That's okay. All those things is okay because it's unique for you to go through this. So I think a heightened sense of any kind of emotion, fear, anxiety, sleeplessness, hunger is normal for this time because we don't know what this is. So I would just say, give yourself a little bit of grace during this time, not an excuse for bad behavior. I'm talking to myself as a bunch of Oreos, but just give yourself some grace to know that this is new for everybody and we all trying to figure this out and navigate it freshly together. So that would be the first tip that I would say. And then maybe to just create that routine for yourself. We have had our self-care routines just totally thrown off. Like for me, I have quiet time in the car with Jesus on the way to work. Well, I'm not driving to work. So I had to figure out, I needed to do a reassessment of, okay, where do I get this time in, because it's something that I realized that I was missing and that I needed. So we should assess what our self-care needs are and then find a way to implement it into our new structure that we have set right now. And it might not last forever, but at least we know for the next couple of weeks, this is going to be our new normal. So we need to create a new structure and be flexible during those times.
Good. Hey, Pastor Weldon, talk about how you tell your people they need to monitor their news intake. I don't know the quote, but I like how you position that.
You know, I watch the news. I believe that one of the greatest weapons against fear is knowledge. When you know what it is, you're not scared of what you think it is. And many times we don't understand that this is a season, not just to get carried away with, you know, music videos. I see everybody's on TikTok, you know, because everybody's getting a hot video on TikTok. I see Dr. Sierra, I see her. But the truth is, this is a season where you ought to limit your news intake. Faith comes by hearing. What we hear affects how we believe. And I also think it's important that you understand that in this season, let's be real, everything is COVID-19. You're going to wake up in the morning and they're going to say, good morning, it's COVID. Okay. So you have to understand that as you are healing and hoping, you've got to be careful as to what you allow into your spirit, because I do believe, and I'm not a doctor. I am not a doctor, but I am a believer. So I do believe that once people hear of the virus, I believe fear is devastating more people than COVID ever could. I believe it's once we hear that we have it, and then we heard all of what everyone else has to say about it. The spirit of fear, which is what I believe we're fighting. It's the spirit of fear that we're fighting. And if we're not careful, that news, man, will infect your ability to believe God. And then that very thing will play a part into creating another virus that's worse than the actual virus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You got one?
There's an acronym like this: fear is false evidence appearing real. So when you have that knowledge, I just listened to a sermon this morning from Dr. Darius Daniels where he talked about overcoming fear with revelation of God's truth. So that knowledge. So absolutely, I wholeheartedly agree with that. We have to be careful of, people shouldn't just walk around like I'm not gonna look at anything or care about anything. We gotta check our sources. Like when we was in school, we couldn't just say, oh, what was the one? Wikipedia. You couldn't go to Wikipedia and say this is a valid source of information. So, no shade to nobody, but you can't just look at somebody who has a huge platform and take what they say as authority. Like people need to make sure that they're getting making informed decisions about what they do in their life from reliable, credible sources.
Yeah. Everybody got something to say right now. We live in a world where people are overwhelmed with information, but they're still starving for truth. Everybody got something to say. Yeah. So it's important to be able to authenticate whatever I'm watching people repost stories from a month ago as if it happened 15 minutes ago. And so reading is fundamental, you know.
Yeah. So I think your quote was something like limit your news intake just for information only or something, then move on, something like that. But you know, you say so many profound things.
No, don't say that, man. I don't remember.
Ellis, 2 questions came up. The $600, they want to know, is that on top of their regular unemployment, and is that continuous or a one-time payment? And then I have another question once you answer that one.
Okay, so the $600 per month is in addition to your state aid, which in Michigan is $362, and it's for the next 4 months. They may decide to extend it to 5 months, but with everybody trying to open back up again, if I'm Congress, I don't feel a need to really push extending it, because now, one of the things that's going to occur is that there are going to be a lot of lost jobs as a result of this. Every month that we stay locked, sheltered in place, there are going to be companies that won't be open. Mm-hmm. And of course, if you're operating on a margin, listen, let me just say this, there are going to be churches that won't reopen.
Yeah.
Because the first thing I said in every medium I could was, call your banker, call your banker, call your banker. And that was for churches too. Call your banker and have a conversation. Bankers are willing to give you 6 months reprieve. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't forgive your loan. They're just going to put it on the back end. Well, it's best to have it on the back end, because the same thing you're going through as a church, individuals are going through in their household. Yeah. Not everybody's going to get this pandemic money. Some people are going to get what they normally get. So if they were a $100 a week tither and they don't have access to funds and they're down in their savings account, it's going to be hard for them to be the $100 a week tither. So you got to bear in mind, you've got to do what you've got to do as a church leader to make sure that your church people can come back and come back wholeheartedly. This too shall pass. But until it does, we got to work to educate. And part of that, part of Sunday's message might be, if you hadn't applied for unemployment checks, you might want to do it. Who's that going to help? It's going to help you in the end, Pastor. So just make sure that you're taking care of your business.
So the second question is, what is your advice for individuals that have 3 months of income saved and are also collecting unemployment? Is that an investment opportunity?
It is an investment opportunity. One of the things, we're given free will at times. One of the things that I heard that stuck with me the first time I heard it, and I heard it when I was a young boy. It said, you gotta work like it depends on you and pray like it depends on God, because that's a winning formula. But if you just sit back and saying, well, oh Lord, woe is I. No, that's not a winning formula. But if, oh Lord, woe is I, Lord, show me a way, then that's a different story. We're sitting here with all believers. We all believe in faith first. And it's been good to us. It's been good to each one of us. But can you imagine if you're an atheist sitting through this with no money right now? That's tough. Mm-hmm. And so, having said that, I just want to say this here, that, we are believers. So this is a faith-oriented presentation. For those who don't believe, this is a time for you to check yourself. If you're at home by yourself and you figure out that you don't like somebody in the house and ain't nobody there but you and you, then that tells you that you got to do some things to improve who you are. So check yourself. This is the most time I've ever spent in my house. I'm enjoying it. And we're actually working from home. My staff is still working. Everybody got to go home. We're going to take some of this with us. We may be working from home I know some of my staff is listening. We might be working at home on Friday.
They like, oh, yes.
Right.
This is one of those things that you got to, listen, you got to figure out what is it about the situation that you like, that you want to take with you. There's some routines that are going to be learned. There will be some millionaires made out of this process. Yes. Listen, there are people who didn't even know they can make a mask. I bought 10 masks from a client the other day, perfect masks, and all different colors, all different colors to go with whatever outfit I want to wear. Because listen, just because the governor said you can go back, don't mean that we're going to go back to just fully acting like we did before. Right. So I'm not going back to hugging and shaking hands and kissing babies like I did before. It's it's going to be a different re-entry into the marketplace. And as a result of that, we all have to be ready. So I just think that entrepreneurs will have an opportunity, but you've got to be in a position where you can hear what's being told to you. You got to be able to hear and act on it, because somebody's going to do well from this, and some people will never recover from this. And that's where faith plays a role, because faith, Pastor talked about in the cave, fear.
Yeah.
No. And Sierra, you said it best. False evidence appearing real.
Mm-hmm.
And it just tell even fear not real.
Yeah. Right.
So we just have to get ourselves together and realize that we can come out of this stronger or we can come out of this weaker. I choose to come out of it stronger.
Yeah. Hey, Sierra, so at what point should I come see you? Should I come see you when I'm all the way depressed, or when should I come see you?
So I personally don't. I feel like everybody can benefit from going to speak to a counselor, right? I don't think that you have to go see a counselor when you feel like I'm all the way depressed. I think you can go in a state of wellness and just to get an unbiased opinion to help you navigate through different things in life. Like, it doesn't have to be causing an impairment for you to want to have to require an increase of quality in it for you. So I don't think that you have to be in a low place to go see a counselor. But I think two questions that you could ask yourself is, one, is this causing me some kind of stress, emotional or mental strain or tension? And if you say yes to that, then you can say, well, is this impacting some area of my life, relationships, work, appetite, sleep, community, whatever it is it impacting some kind of area in my life? And if you answer yes to one or both of those questions, you definitely could benefit from going to speak to a counselor or therapist, whatever term you want to use.
So what's the stigma in our community? Why are we hesitant? Is it because we have the, that's crazy stigma?
Because Nana said we don't do that, you crazy. Black folks don't do that. We don't go see no therapist, you crazy. Or we say you better go pray about it, or the issue that came down from the church, you don't have enough faith, or just there's shame associated with it. And that's where that come from, all way back in the day, from Nana, Granny, talking about, girl, you don't need to go see nobody, or just ignoring it. You don't need to go see nobody, you straight. Or just stop doing that and you will be good. But there is always some things that are deeper in there, and I just think we haven't really had hard conversations within our families about how some of these things even started. I'll be the first to say, I know I have some daddy issues, and it took me a long time to get to have a hard conversation with myself to say, like, yep, I can see that correlation there. But it was something that I didn't want to accept too, because I'm like, no, I'm a strong Black woman. Don't matter. His laws, all those different types of attitudes that we have. But I really had to come to a humble place on myself and say, like, no, Sierra, that's kind of messed up. You should figure that out. So I appreciate going. I went to Moody Theological Seminary to get my master's degree. So I appreciate the fact that we were our own first client. We had to sit down and go through any and everything that we would take a client through for ourselves. And when I tell you, I came home some days like, man, should I do this? Because I'm messed up.
What'd you say to that, Pastor? Well, how do you heal broken people? How do you marry the two with therapy? At what point do you send somebody to therapy?
Well, I think the truth of the matter is, Jesus says that I am the way, the truth, and the life. The truth forces you into a place of freedom that you then become accounted for. A lot of people, we run from truth. We run from answers. We don't like to face the man in the mirror. And that's what makes this quarantine so uncomfortable for so many of us, because I don't care what you do. I don't care how good you look on social media. You're in a moment right now where everybody has to face what they've produced. We're in a moment now where we have to look our fruit in the face. And a lot of people, we've been for so long living out of our doing that we stop living out of our being. The uncomfortable part about where we are is God has shut all of our doing down. And we're stuck with who we are now that we can't be distracted by all the things that we do. And so in this moment, it's a great moment when you say, when do you send somebody to therapy? Right now. I mean, you tell everybody on this live where to follow Sierra Renee, because while you're in that house, there's some things that God's doing in you and for you. That this is a moment that you get to ask yourself some questions and then digest some answers that otherwise God probably wouldn't have been able to get through to you. So that's why what you're doing in this moment, Eric, is so powerful and needed, because when you say there's somebody watching us right now that just needs somebody to talk to. Dr. Sierra, let me ask you this. How many doors do you think people are opening because they won't have a conversation with the right person? They're now opening doors to the distraction and boredom are making new friends in this quarantine.
Yeah.
And the truth is, it's because we don't know how to run to the right people. We run to the wrong ones. Sierra, are you there?
I was here, but I wasn't hearing what you said. I kind of lost you there.
I said, how often? Because see, if when he asks, you know, when do we send them to the therapy? You send them right now, because in this place, a lot of people are finding themselves bored, distracted, you know, wanting to talk to somebody. How many times in moments like these do people open doors that they need to keep closed just because rather than finding the right ear, they find peace with the wrong one?
We making Corona decisions.
Yeah, making wrong decisions. Yep. all the time. Because like you said, we don't want to face the truth. We don't want to face the truth, and we get so distracted. And, you know, I think too, it's a perfect opportunity because you don't have all of the other stuff that stopped you from coming, right? You don't have work. You don't got to take the kids to school. You don't got to take them to dance. You don't got to do this. You don't got to do that. It's perfect. And it's so many counselors are available to do teletherapy, like Ella said. So you can go sit in a corner somewhere and you can get right there. And we all understand. So if the kid knocking on the door, I'll just wait.
Yeah.
We'll finish what we need to do, but this is the perfect opportunity to go ahead and do some of those things. Like we talked about self-care, I think that going to speak to somebody is a great way to take care of yourself. We need to take care of ourselves, particularly moms or people who is caring for a household during this time with all of these different things that are introduced into our lives right now. You need to take care of yourself so that you can be available to take care of the other things that you have to take care of right inside your own household.
So,
this is a great season to focus on you and to really take a real good look at yourself. And I think that's where healing really began.
Yeah.
We did for Watch Night service, where everybody was so excited about 2020. It's the year of vision and things is gonna be clear. And then some kind of way we lost that, like, oh, 2020 is terrible, it's horrible, it's like a bad ex that won't go away. But I feel like God is making a lot of things clear.
It's still my year.
Sit down. We had to sit down and figure it out.
It's still my year. I mean, I ain't gonna let the whole year go away because of the last month.
Yeah.
God made me promises for the rest of the year. It's still my year. Are y'all hearing what I'm telling you? That thing made me happy. Now I've been over here sitting trying to behave. I'm trying to behave. I'm talking now.
Ellis, did you want to add to that? Or I do have a couple questions for you. Go ahead.
Yes. Sierra said something that was so good. She said she had daddy issues. She didn't mind putting that out there, right? And for years, I had mommy issues. And I compared my ability to work with money to my mother's ability to work with money. And I'd always say, if my mother had the same opportunities I had, she'd have a lot more to show for it. So one day I was at a party and we were doing a quiz and everybody was talking and I was answering questions left and right. People said, "Boy, you so smart." And I said, "Yeah, I'm the smartest broke person I know." And I heard myself say it, Eric. I'm the smartest broke person I know.
Yeah.
Right. And so why am I so broke? It's because I didn't spend any time working on money. I didn't spend any time. I was in the financial industry, had a job, going to the bank every day, a banker, but I didn't have much to show for it. Why? Because I didn't spend any time working on money. And that was the only time when Michael Jordan was on top of the world and they started telling stories about how he would go out and shoot so many baskets every night and he was working his skill. And I thought about that. I said, wait a minute, if Michael Jordan can work on his skill, why can't I work on mine? How much do I really know about money and the energy in money? So I started looking for people who were way before I came through here. So I started reading about how the Rockefellers and the Morgans, how did they get their money? And I wanted to understand that. So I read the books and I became more knowledgeable about money and how money works. How do you create money? How do you create wealth?
Yeah.
I started reading about that. You know, what was the easiest way to get wealthy in the 80s? Real estate. What was the easiest way to get wealthy in the 90s and 2000s? Stock market. So starting to understand what allowed you to get wealth at a time when you can get wealth. There's so many houses in Detroit that are just so cheap, and you can buy these houses, put a tenant in it, Section 8 tenant, and get money. I had a client come in. She said, "Miss Liddell, I hear you on the radio all the time, and I really appreciate you. So I'm gonna move in with my daughter, and we want to sell our house." I said, "How much you want to sell your house for?" She said, "A nickel." I said, "A nickel?" She said, "Come on now, you ain't that young, are you? A nickel's $5,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you want to reach behind my ear and get that milk off of it right there.
Right.
So I said, "Let me come see your house." So I went in and I looked at the house. The house was perfect. All it needed was a little bit of carpet in the living room. It was a 900 square foot house.
Wow.
And she said, "Now I got to tell you, my kids don't want the house, but they want everything inside the house. They want the stove, the refrigerator, they want all that stuff, right?" So I bought the house from her, and I put a Section 8 tenant in the house. And she actually called me and said, "My sister lived behind the house. I understand that you just bought this house. Are you gonna make it a Section 8 property?" I hadn't even thought about that. So I made it a Section 8 property. And then I had another client who called me, Eric, and she said, "I'm moving to Florida. I got some stuff I need to get rid of." I said, "Like what?" She said, "Washer, dryer, stove, oven, microwave, refrigerator." I said, "How much you want for it?" She said, $500. "I just need you to move it out." So I took that stuff out from that place and moved into the Section 8 property. The young lady moved in. I've saw the property one time since she moved in, and it's been 8 years.
Oh,
And in September of this year, she doesn't know this quite yet, but in September of this year, I'm going to bless her with that house.
wow.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
it really is her house. She's taken care of that house for 8 years. And I've gotten $600 from Section 8 the whole time.
Wow.
That's
So when you add that up, that nickel that I paid for, that $5,000, I've gotten that back
nickel.
so many times. So the whole thing is just being in a place where that you can see wealth, you can vision wealth, and understand that wealth will come to you. Wealth will chase. Now I could have told that lady no. Well, what would I have done if I said no? I'd have blocked my blessing.
Yeah.
I would have blocked the young lady who lives in that house's blessing, and I would have blocked the lady who moved out the house to live with her daughter. I would have blocked her blessing. So by saying no, would have blocked 3 people's blessing.
Wow.
But by saying yes, I've elevated and helped others. And I didn't do it out of any selfish reason. She offered me a house, and I thought it made sense to buy it. So I acted on it. So the same is true for that's why I said some people will come out of this situation and they'll be better for having done it. Now, there's a lady named Catherine Ponder. She's a writer. I've read her books since I was 24 years old, and she talks about the prosperity. She talks about the spirit of money, things like that. Catherine Ponder. And she's on YouTube. She has a YouTube called Catherine Ponder with a P. Catherine with a C, Ponder with a P. She has a YouTube called The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. And it just kind of gives you some rules, some guidelines of what do you do to be more prosperous. And I refer that book to clients. I've been referring to people since I was 24, and I'm a little bit older than 60 right now. So I've been referring that book to people for a long time. And I'm, just amazing how many people say that really helped me. But you can listen to it on YouTube. Now, you're in the house. It's a 6-hour book. It's recorded for 6 hours. I'm not telling you to sit through it and binge and go through 6 hours of listening to Captain Podcast. But do 20 solid minutes, go clean up, and come back and do 20 more. In other words, make this a part of your study. If money's important to you. And I realized a long time ago, Eric, money's not important to everybody.
Yeah. But money answers all things. So I'm going to ask you one question, then you can have your closing remarks, and then I'll come to you, Sierra, what you want us to know, and Pastor Weldon, what you want us to know, and give us some hope. Someone asked, for those that are still working, should they be less aggressive? They want some free advice. Should they be less aggressive with their 401k contributions? Also, with stocks dropping at cost per share, is this a good opportunity to grab some stocks?
Okay, so and it's kind of like with Sierra. She doesn't have one therapy for everybody. Like Pastor Wellington, he doesn't have one sermon for everybody. So the answer is complicated. So let me just say this here. I would encourage you to go to ELE Wealth Management, elewealth.com, elewealth.com, and schedule a free consultation. And
free
that
consultation.
Free consultation. Free consultation. And that way I can make it more personalized for your individual situation. And that way we'll know what we're doing. So that's the easiest way to do that. But elewealth.com, the book that I wrote close to 15 years ago was called Wealth Management Merging Faith with Finance. It's still published, so you can still get that book. If you don't understand the foundation of building finance, this book will help you to do so. But yeah, elewealth.com, elewealth.com. Hey, Pastor, Sierra, Eric, I just want to thank each of you for the opportunity to join you. This was a great conversation.
Yeah.
That's why I was quiet. I was listening. When I wasn't talking, I was listening, and I was applying what Sierra was saying. With telemedicine, you don't have to come to the house anymore. She can just get you on the phone and do what she has to do and work her magic with you and give you something to think about. And Pastor, I'll say this here: when you preach it to just yourself, that's a good sermon, right?
Man, let me tell you, everybody got to preach to empty rooms now, man. But that's what preaching is. So yeah,
Right.
man, it was great.
So give us some.
Eric, thank you again.
You're welcome. Sierra, give us some closing remarks. What do you want us to know?
I just want the people to be encouraged. Nobody is familiar with the territory that we're walking on right now. So whatever you're feeling, I want you to take some time and just allow yourself to feel it and process it. Digest it is a good terminology to use, and see and then make your decisions from there. Don't fall under all of these pressures to be a superhuman. When you emerge, when outside open back up, don't fall under all of those pressures. Don't fall too deep down into doing nothing either, but do some things that are going to be beneficial for you in the long run. Take some time to really consider how you want to be elevated to the best version of yourself on the other side of this thing. And really just spend some time with the people that are close to you. We are told to socially distance ourselves, but that doesn't mean that we can't stay connected to people. There's so many channels, Zoom, Facebook. I see people doing all kind of virtual parties. My cousins and I, we just had a virtual scavenger hunt last night. I even did a gender reveal at 3:00 with my cousins, and it was like 60 people on there that was all excited to see the reveal of the gender of the baby. But we can stay connected in these times. Do not isolate yourself, because that is a bad pathway. It can cause you to spiral and disassociate. So you can get community even without having somebody in close proximity to you. So reach out to somebody if you feel like you need to talk, even if it's just, hey, how you doing? I just need some human kind of interaction right there. Don't do that isolating thing. And then I do strongly encourage everybody, whether you feel like you're great or you're in a low place, reach out to somebody, do your research, find a therapist that you feel like will be best for you. Psychology today is a great tool. You can kind of use filters to determine who would be a good fit for you based on what their modalities are, what methods they follow, proximity, location, payments, all those different things. You can kind of narrow your search to find somebody, but definitely take that route, take that venture, see what it's like to go talk to a therapist. Like you said, therapists are available now via telehealth. At first, we didn't have some of that flexibility, but it's available now for you. So go ahead and take full advantage of those things. I feel led now. Ellis, you put the pressure on me. I'm giving out consultations.
Put it out there. Put it out there.
Put the pressure on. I will be honored to speak to anybody who feels like they want to speak to me. If you can reach me on Facebook at Elevated Counseling and Coaching. You can send me a message. You can even call me directly at 734-956-0616. And I would love to talk to you about some of your plans, what some of the challenges are, and see how we could together help navigate through whatever it is that you want to, whether it be with me or I can refer you to a colleague of mine. But I would be honored to speak with you.
Thank you. And we'll include all of your information in the comments too for you, Ellis and Sierra, and of course, New Life. Close out, Pastor Welton, what you got for us? Give us some hope. I do want to say I went to his outside service on Resurrection Sunday. And boy, it was crazy.
It was crazy, right?
We stayed in our cars.
We stayed in our cars. It was social distancing. Dr. Sierra was like, I was with him this whole call till you brought that service.
As much as we could.
I think tonight I've just enjoyed listening to the wealth of wisdom on the line. If there's anything that I would say to anyone listening, it's that God wants to get in touch with you.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is he's using this season to do it. A lot of people keep saying that a revival is on the way. I don't believe a revival is on the way. I believe a revival is here right now. Mm-hmm. I believe there's a revival taking place in our hearts and our homes. Pastor, what will make you believe that? What other explanation could we have that on a Sunday night at 6, Eric Williams has been able to bring 3 worlds together to minister to you? no matter in whichever one of them you're battling right now. I think more than anything, before we hang up the line, it's important that you hold on to your faith. Don't have faith in faith. Put your faith in God, that no matter how he chooses to use this, anything God allows, God uses. And wherever you are, I pray that since he's been trying to get in touch with you, as you've been ministered to through Dr. Sierra, Dr. Ellis he's given us so much strategy and instruction. Let God talk to you. Let God soak this in. Don't just hang up this live and jump on the television. No, soak this in. And you got to hear your way through this season. No one can counsel you or mentor you through this moment here. This is a season where it's going to expose how much time you've invested in hearing God for yourself. And when you hear him, call one of them. Call one of them. They waiting for you right there. I love you guys.
And where we find you at?
Man, you can follow me on Instagram at Pastor Welton. I go to this church in Detroit called New Life. It's New Life anywhere on all our social media platforms. We will not be having service anymore outside. Ain't no more pull-up services. I got the church. You know, you give them an inch, they're gonna take a mile. Somebody gonna jump out the car and in that. But anytime while we're digital, on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, you can meet us, and Sundays at 10. And I'll be glad to see you.
Excellent. Okay, this is our fun round. This is our fast and fun round. You all weren't prepared for this, but this is going to be good. So I'm going to give you one word, and you're going to give me your first thought on that one word. Okay, I'm going to start with you, Ellis. You ready?
Ready.
Right. Automobile.
Car.
Color.
Red.
Wife.
Teresa.
Very good. Pastor Welton.
Nice, Eric.
I am. Chocolate.
Reese's.
Okay. Movies.
Rocky 4.
Rocky 4. Okay. Son. S-O-N.
Oh, number 5, baby. You know what it is.
And I'll end with you, Sierra. Your word. Love.
God.
God. Christmas.
Happy.
Family.
Love.
Love. Okay. All right. So that's all we have. I want to personally.
Why we don't
thank
get to ask you no questions?
Well, because I'm the
No,
host.
you ain't gonna put us all out here talking about.
Because I'm the host.
Sierra, you see how quick you came back? Well, that's all it is.
That's all there is.
I think we all should get one question.
Give me one word. You should give me a word.
One word.
Okay.
Music.
Winans. Go ahead, Sierra.
Dinner.
Waiting at home. That's a conversation we already had.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Ellis.
Wealth.
It's a legacy. Pass it on.
All right. All right.
You looking for a discount code now?
That was good. Right.
That's the best I can give. That's the best I can give. I appreciate y'all. My thought is, again, keep moving. Everybody keep moving. The snail and the cheetah moved at their own pace, but they both arrived in time for the flood on the ark. So whatever you're doing, keep moving. That's my thought for the day. I love y'all.
That was good. You go throw that into this.
It's an thought conversation.
That's why the show conversation. That's why.
It's an thought conversation. God bless y'all. Hey, anybody out there, share it. We'll be back again. We'll post it when we get some other guests. And I appreciate y'all for our inaugural show. Excuse any technical difficulties, all that stuff. But I think we had a ball and we had a great time, and a lot of information and entertainment went out there. So I appreciate each and every one of you. We'll post your information in the comments so they can get in touch with you. God bless y'all.
God bless
y'all.
you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.